Right, what are we looking at now?
The revolution of Ford, stroke New Holland, stroke Fiat, stroke even the Caterpillar was involved at that time, and Landini, and Versatile.
What are you telling me? This thing's a bit of a mongrel.
No.
Right, what was there was a project name for this tractor.
Absolutely, in the beginning, Genesis.
Yeah.
As in the good book of the Bible, Genesis. Basically the beginning. And this tractor is steeped, and I mean steeped in design engineering, steeped in history, steeped in amalgamation between companies. It was like a mammoth project like no other of its time. Designed mostly, if I'm right, and I am prepared to be corrected and would like to be corrected, Canadian-built tractor, I do believe. Manitoba, is it Manitoba or is it Winnipeg? Can't remember. But she's from that part, I do believe. Well, I think we've referenced it earlier, Alistair Cook's Big Blue is the flagship, the 8970 with the super steer axle. We were advised for a bit of work and a bit of a keepsake that an 88 was the most popular and non-super steer would be easiest serviced and looked after. I think famously Alec told us in one of his conversations he had one, and it's the tractor that actually made him go to John Deere. He said it was awful.
He is an utter hatred.
But the Genesis tractor, we really were looking for this, and I think there's a bit of a picture evolving as we go through all our tractors here of ultimately where we're trying to get to. Way back when we did Two Legends and a Donkey, it was three old girls, rough as they were bought. We're slowly trying to go through these tractors, these bigger tractors, and we have got rid of one and added two. And we've got rid of the TW35. We raffled it off for charity, but going forward it didn't suit what we were trying to achieve. The TW35 was at a disadvantage against your Genesis, against your Magnum, and against your 4755. It hadn't a PowerShift gearbox, it was a crash box. I know there's guys out there that will argue and shout, and I get that, and I've seen good drivers on them. But this really is the tractor of that era. Slightly younger, it's a 95 model. We were really adamant to try and find a Ford version. And when Richard Paris Tractors had this one in, we knew he had a great name, a synonymous name with them, and with dealing in that type of stuff. So again, without seeing it, we rung him, and as Bob McConaughey said, made arrangements.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we actually gathered it up at the beginning of this year at one of the only shows we attended, Lama.
Right. Yeah.
And we went down a day and gathered it up and brought it here. But you can't compare that tractor to the TW. I know there was a 30 series PowerShift version, but you're stepping up from that 6.6 litre Ford engine. And let's be honest, it fell off a cliff.
But did I? Yeah,
the torque was never there, you know, and famously, Jimmy and I, you know, on the dyno, she had a lot more horsepower, but she fell off the cliff. 7.5 Power Star, which followed right through the TM range and all, which is now Case New Holland, which is now all under the one group, which is now basically, I don't know what they call them now, but it's your Iveco engine.
It's Fiat Powertrain now.
FPT. And you're into the bigger ones, it's Cursor and all the rest of it. And so that's a 7.5 litre engine, bundle of power.
Aye, like this thing has power. Big time.
This particular one has power. There's a story behind the power.
Yeah, yeah.
She's meant to have about 210 horsepower. We sent her down to Charles, who we have caught up with. we sent her down to Charles. He went through a couple of seals that we knew was wrong, and it was identified by Richard Paris. He was either going to fix it, but I kind of said, no, let us fix it, because it's what we do. We like a bit of content. So she went off to Charles, and he put a new clutch pack in her, which is straight in the back end. Put a new clutch pack in her, and he dynoed her, and she was doing what she was meant to do, 210 horsepower. So I asked him, would he set her up and leave her at the same horsepower as the 4755, you know, to go forward for a wee bit of a project? And he said, absolutely, no problem. And then he rang me and he says, Gareth, I tried to set her at 240 horsepower, but my spanner slipped. And I lost my spanner, and I don't have another one the same size, so she's actually 260 horsepower.
Did you really think that was going to come out of Armstrong machinery?
I says, Charles, come on. I says, this is unfair. And he says, it wasn't in me, Gareth.
No.
It wasn't in me. I just couldn't do it. So she's still very much a work in progress. We're going to look at the hydraulics now. We know there's a bit of an issue with the hydraulics. We think it's hopefully seals. But as far as drivability and power, she is unreal. Roomy cab, a familiar cab. It's a cab that it feels familiar to, if you've drove any form of a New Holland in the last 20 plus years, it's no problem, and you're getting the power and all. So she's a weapon.
What's been done to her since she's arrived?
Tyres and rims. So one of the first jobs we did to this tractor was straight down to Agri-Gear. Fred put me on a new set of rims and the exact same set of tyres as is on the 4755. So they are identically shod, and again, that'll you'll see maybe where we're coming. It needs Stevie Budd at it now, a day or so on the Auto Spark side, and
she has been out working.
She has, and Pottinger had this tractor. We've dubbed it the name Big Henry, coming from the fact that we wanted a Ford, and off the fact of Henry Ford. I think it's the tractor that shaped the future of New Holland all those years ago, and there's no denying how popular their 60 series, TM series, T7 series, right the whole way through has been for them. So that's the plan. She needs a wee bit of work yet. There's a hole in the bottom of the exhaust, a bit of black smoke comes out of it, and she needs the hydraulics, as I said, sorted out. But other than that, she's
a pretty solid big tractor.
She hasn't really needed, everything kind of came working. The hitch wouldn't be great now. A lot of wear in the hitch, but we'll sort that.
Dara will sort that.
But watching her over she was put in a 6 metre disc, pretty much the exact same concept as the big 10 metre disc that was on the 310R, and she just went past it like it didn't exist.
Yeah.
But the 310R was punching. That was, I would say on an 8 metre disc that wouldn't have happened now, but she was on a 10 metre. I mean, in actual fact, the 10 metre disc weighed more than the actual John Deere. She was extremely impressive on it. That baby there it was just bump, 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 bump.
That was overkill, to be
as
fair.
quick as you could feed gears away.
It shouldn't have been overkill, in theory, but it was. Like, that thing was just annihilating it.
But isn't she deadly looking? Like,
yeah, as it's...
And a complete pleasure to drive.
As to be fair, and even without the super steer axle, it is incredibly manoeuvrable still.
I think that's one of the reasons psychologically I didn't want a super steer one, because if we do get set up a challenge with these 4 tractors, our Magnum, our 8870, our 47, and hopefully our 3690, it would have been a big disadvantage, and I think that would have been a wee bit unfair. But again, Ford men will say I should have got one with super steer to show how far ahead they were.
Yeah, I understand that.
They may be right, but I'm not prepared to take that chance, because I'd probably not get to drive this. So.
And do you think, if one of them had been bought instead of the TW back in the day.
Oh,
The
no,
tables would have been
there's
turned.
no regrets. I mean, for goodness sake, watching Jimmy trying to do like Jimmy would have sat up in there coming off a 70-50 and been at home.
Yeah, you wouldn't have seen him.
And it just would have been, there'd have been no issues. So I don't think your concept or your program would have been the same fun without, without the crack that was had. But I think, GRASSMEN as a brand has changed so much since then. People would love to see them mechanically sound, doing the modern job, and something that Guy said earlier on, 4 big balers running side by side. I think that would be, and if we could add a bit of a charity aspect or something into it, I think we could create some lovely footage. We'll see.
She hasn't done a lot yet, but that sums up Big Henry.
She hasn't done a lot yet, but what she did do.
Aye. She did well.
I'll just put it to you like this. Whatever other tractor dareth, taketh her on. I'm in the Genesis language here now. Whatever tractor dareth, taketh this baby on, it better be feeling up to it.
Yeah.
And the driver better be on point.
As long as it's not a bale trailer. I would take her on in a bale trailer.
That is definitely the worst moment.
I found her nemesis.
I think it was hydraulic issues. But she wasn't designed for that, and that is a big, massive issue we have here at HQ, is these old tractors do struggle with the modern equipment, and that's why we've have the new one in the fleet, but by the same token, oh, what a baby. We made a wee video in here one night in a coal start-up, and these yokes were designed to give her a blast of diesel and start-up, and she fills this shade full of smoke, and everybody's like, oh, revving that, revving. You're like, I thought you guys knew tractors. She does it herself.
It's cold
That's
start.
how she starts. She's literally the old ones, you push the cold start button. This is into doing it automatically, and she's just, lethal. Lethal.